Welcome to the Valiona Theralion Guide. This video will serve as a step-by-step, easy-to-follow guide, and this is a two-phase fight with a ground phase and an air phase for each dragon. As you enter the encounter, you will want the tank to pull Valiona first, which will leave Theralion to fly in the air and start casting Twilight Blast, which will inflict 19,000 to 21,000 shadow damage to anyone within 8 yards of the target. To reduce the damage from this, we made sure everyone was spread roughly 8 yards, and as long as you don't have more than 2 people within that 8-yard radius, we found healing through the damage easy enough. Blackout is an ability which Valiona puts a dispellable debuff on a random raid member, and when dispelled causes 250,000 raid damage spread to all nearby players. To combat the damage from this, you will want all raid members to have a set point in which to meet before you dispel it. And for us, we found having everyone spread out around the dragon and then meet right in the center of the dragon the easiest, as it keeps the distance each player needs to run fairly equal. We then called a run in when the cast time was at 3 seconds, so everyone had enough time to get to the center before it was cast, and once cast, this needs to be dispelled immediately and everyone move back to the previous positions. You will want to avoid having everyone stacked for too long because the Twilight Blast will hit every raid member while you are stacked. The collapse during Blackout is a perfect time for a Paladin's Divine Guardian and any defensive cooldowns the raid has to prevent everyone taking too much damage. Valiona's second round ability is called Devouring Flames, in which Valiona will face a random player and cast for 3 seconds, then engulfs the side of the room she's facing in flames that inflict 100,000 shadow damage to anyone in front of her. This damage is reduced in 2 ways. One, you can either run through her to her tail end, which will result in no damage taken, or you can move further away from her and take less damage. We found it easier to move her to the tail end and as soon as she turned to face a specific direction. This ability will cause you very little to no aggravation at all, so just be on the ball with Blackout in this phase and you'll do fine. After she casts Blackout twice, Theralion will cast an ability called Dazzling Destruction. I like to call this swirly twirly shit because that's exactly what it is. He will cast this on the floor and you will see purple pink colored swirls which you will need to move out of. The easiest way to not get hit is to just keep moving. Once you have successfully avoided the swirly twirly shit, also known as Dazzling Destruction, Valiona will take off and Theralion will land, starting a second phase of the fight. Make sure your tank is ready to pick up Theralion, as healers will have some threat from him landing. While landed, Theralion is a lot more difficult to handle than Valiona, and the first ability to look out for is Engulfing Magic, which mirrors all healing and damage you do, inflicting shadow damage equal to the healing or damage you do to players within 10 yards for 20 seconds. To reduce the raid damage from this, we had all ranged members spread out, so they were not near anyone if they got hit with Engulfing Magic. A key note is if you were running Deadly Boss mods, it is set to place an X on the recipient of Engulfing Magic, so if you have the X on your head, move away from everyone. Most strategies call for a ranged group and a melee group because of Valiona's flying ability Twilight Meteorite, which puts a purple arrow above a player's head and after 6 seconds inflicts 117 to 123,000 shadow damage to members within 8 yards, splitting the damage. We found it easier just to have the range spread out for Engulfing Magic purposes and have the melee stack on the tank with the tank healer. If a range got targeted with Twilight Meteorite, they would simply run to the melee group and wait for it to hit. Once it had hit, they would then move back to their original positions, ready to anticipate Engulfing Magic. Theralion also has an ability called Fabulous Flames, which he will spit flames on the ground to create a void zone-like circle on the floor and inflict 11,000 to 12,000 every second to players who are stood in it. You simply move out of it and it can and will land in the melee group, so the melee group needs to be ready to move at all times. Having the range spread out also helps to mitigate damage from this, as having them stacked up in a group means that if it does target them, they all take damage. The only problem with having the range spread out is that you have less control as to where the Fabulous Flames land, but we found the pros to far outweigh the cons, and with raid away players it does not hinder the raid at all. After you successfully live through 2 Engulfing Magics, Valiona will take a deep breath and fill 1/3 of the room with flames. This ability is similar to other encounters in WoW, such as Ingvar the Plunderer or God Pinnacle. She will target one of the 3 areas in the room which we designate north, south, and middle. The north side is the side of the room in which you enter and come up to the encounter. The south side is the door which is currently blocked that leads to the elemental room, and the middle is obviously in between the north and south points. We designated a melee or 2 to call her directions. Simply move away from the area they called to avoid the flame 3 times and Valiona will land again. Repeat phase 1 and phase 2 again if necessary. And you may want to note that Valiona will use Blackout about 8 seconds after she lands, so have your raid leader count to 3 and then call a run in as soon as she lands. Otherwise, you can sacrifice the player who gets hit with Blackout and battle res them if you have not already used it. I hope this was a good guide, and good luck to everyone in this fight. And please hit like if you found this guide useful.